live a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. We reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work in a sea of fads. We explore the physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the health revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game, starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. You are watching The Health Revolution, and we're excited that you are joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and no matter which way you're tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, you will see a tab for show episode notes. You want to reference those, so be mindful of that. Today, we are talking about mastering leadership in life and all that that implies. And we do understand when life is lifing, sometimes it's really hard to have that mental mindset and that emotional resilience so that we can conquer every level and every step along the way. So what happens when we get stuck? And how do we apply these principles so that we can really soar into a new level of strength? And I'm excited to talk to our guest today because he definitely brings the receipts. There's a whole lot to unpack about what it takes to be a leader in all areas of our lives. Take a look at this. Meet Dan Jahn, a global entrepreneur, educator, and leadership expert who's mastered the power of mental focus and clarity. At just age 22, Dan founded his first tech consulting company, and since then, he's built high-performing teams across technology, arts, and education, proving how mindset can transform vision into reality. With experience ranging from the White House to Silicon Valley, advanced degrees in the US and the UK, and travels to 68 countries, Dan brings unparalleled insights into leadership and personal growth. Today, Dan will share with us how cultivating the right mental framework can empower us all, individuals and teams, to achieve lasting impact. Jahn, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited to talk to you because obviously we understand that to be that strong force in life, it does take leadership skills, but along the way, we kind of struggle with that as a society. And I'm curious, what got you to want to really explore this and take this head on as your profession?
Well, there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is we need better leaders. We just simply have to build a new generation of leaders. We need them in every field. The long answer is I started my career in the White House. So I was actually a gymnast. I was slated to go onto the world tumbling team, but my first meet in college, I snapped my C3 vertebrae. So gymnastics ended, had to make a quick pivot, go another direction, and I ended up in the White House, Office of Communications, writing speeches, and I started meeting people from just a really wide variety of backgrounds. I'm sure you can imagine people all over the world, leaders and cultural leaders and business leaders and political leaders end up at the White House for various events and functions. And as I started meeting more and more of these people, I just really wanted to understand, how did this specific person end up as a leader, number one, and number two, there's so few of them that I met that I thought, wow, this is an iconic leader. Most of them, I just kind of thought, wow, this person's been promoted to the point where they probably shouldn't be. So I really kind of wanted to understand and study, like, what makes an iconic leader. And so as I started my own businesses and had to become that leader myself and build these high performing teams, I got really into sort of mindsets and methodologies and frameworks. And that's how I kind of ended up researching it and developing it and working on it in my own life. And then I very much believe that everybody has a phase towards the latter part of their life where they're supposed to kind of stop doing what they were doing and turn around and teach and help and expand our global culture in positive ways. And that's the phase I believe I'm in. And so I shifted my entire mindset away from my businesses to other people's businesses. And that's how I got here. That's why I call myself the iconic leadership coach, is because I want to build a generation of iconic leaders and give back to this world.
So, Dan, I'm curious, with your upbringing and just the fact that you've done a lot of the early foundations of getting into the White House, being a gymnast, all of that. What was the family foundation? Was this something that you were instilled upon? That family decided, you know what, you're going to be driven, or what did that look like?
Well, I wouldn't really say it was family driven. My parents joined the Peace Corps. They met in Peace Corps training. And so I was born in Sri Lanka while they were doing their Peace Corps tour of duty. So while they were certainly driven to help others, they weren't really driven in the sense of becoming leaders at what they were doing. That being said, both of my parents were very, very self-driven people. My mom, I think, is the only person to ever complete a PhD in 1 year at UCLA. And my father was an extremely interesting man. He was a one-legged stuntman who formed a worldwide group of handicapped skydivers who skydived all over the world to raise money for handicapped children. So in the sense that, they both set an example for me that you pick what you want to do and you get it done. That example was definitely in my life from a very early age.
And the fact that I want to go back to your injury that you mentioned at C3. So for those watching, that's your cervical spine, that's the neck region. And obviously that could be a devastating injury. How did you cope with that? And the reason why I ask that is there's a lot of our viewers who might have some physical challenges in life and they're just trying to do all things getting healthy. What were some things that really pushed you to keep going, that you carried with you, and it was just part of that staple, that foundation?
Well, I think there's a couple different ways to approach that when it happens to you. When it happened to me, I just saw it as a complete change. It was a change that got forced on me by the world, by the universe. It wasn't a choice. So when you have a choice to make, that's one thing. When a choice is forced on you, you just simply have to move forward. In terms of healing, I did everything, right? I did all the rehab. I took the supplements. I did the stretching. But honestly, I think what really got me through it all was just simply saying, this choice was not mine, but I absolutely have a choice in how I deal with the ramifications and the repercussions of what happened to me. I didn't have the choice to have the injury, but I absolutely had the choice on how I chose to respond to that change in my life. And so when I had that choice, all I did really in my mind was simply say, well, I was going to be a champion at one thing. I'm still a champion. I just have to become a champion at something else. And that's my attitude towards it. And I think anybody that's dealing with a physical challenge of any sort, you have to look at it that way. Notice I said the word challenge. I don't talk about injuries. I don't talk about setbacks. Those are negative words to me. And I know this sounds a little woo-woo, but it's the positive words that you have to start with, because you have to believe it in your own mind before anybody's going to believe it about you. So when you have a challenge, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, timing, whatever the challenge is, look at it that way. It's a challenge. So overcome. And if you have that mindset, I guarantee you'll find the way. You'll find the path, but you have to start with believing it's just a challenge.
Why do you think people get stuck with a fork in the road, with something that they could not anticipate, an event or a situation? What makes people stuck to where they can't be the leader in their own life?
I think part of it is cultural. I don't want to put the blame on something like this on the individual all the time. There is certainly something to be said for the individual needs to rise up to that challenge. But we also don't have a culture that really helps people do that. What we have is a culture that makes heroes out of people who overcome challenges and ignores everybody else. And that's not really a great place for a culture to be, because it sets things up as only these incredible individuals will make it. Only these people with just absolutely intrinsically intense stories will survive and move forward and become what it is that they want to become. I just don't believe that's true. I think that that exact motivation is inside everyone. So the first thing I would tell people who are feeling stuck is stop looking around. Turn your gaze inward. Forget about what culture is telling you. Forget about what your society's telling you. Look inside yourself and decide who you want to be. Right? You've got to make that decision. And for me, I make it every morning. Every morning I wake up and I think to myself, who am I today? What am I today? And that's based on my version of myself, not what society tells me I am, not what culture tells me I am, not what history tells me I could be, but what I decide. And I think this is kind of a big, big thing for everybody in every culture, every field. It's not gender specific, it's not geo specific. You need to get up in the morning and you need to think about how are you going to be the best version of yourself that day. And if you're stuck, there's lots and lots of little tricks and tips that I can give you. There's workshopping, there's ideas, there's journaling, but it all really kind of boils down to one really simple thing, which is, again, it's a choice. You may say to yourself, I'm stuck. And I would encourage you and challenge you to say, next time you're at that fork in the road, you're not stuck. You're not stuck at all. What you have are two choices. And you can sit there and you can stare at them both forever, or you can just simply pick one and move forward, because nothing is permanent. You may start walking down the right-hand path. Maybe in a week, maybe in a day, maybe in an hour, you'll decide, you know what, this isn't the right path. Fine. Back up. Take the other one. You have choices all the time.
So it comes to a decision, and I feel like a lot of people, when a challenging decision is made, where it's just, obviously there's a little bit of uncertainty ahead of us. It seems to me that there's a level of breaking from comfort that tends to be the Achilles heel, the not wanting to break the familiar. This is what I know. I don't know this path. I'm supposed to go this path, or maybe I should embrace things like this, but I'm not used to doing this. Would you agree that comfort levels are an issue, that they play a strong element for a situation like this?
Sure. Everyone feels comfortable in the familiar, right? I mean, everyone wants to be comfortable. What I would tell you is just think about for a moment whether you are truly comfortable or are you simply avoiding challenges? Because comfort, it's a fine place to live, but you don't accomplish anything operating from a zone of comfort. So I would ask the question, not is comfort the problem, because it is part of the problem, but I would ask people, why do you want to just be comfortable? Why is that okay for you? Why do you feel that just simply being comfortable is living up to your own potential? Because it's not. It's just absolutely not. And I will say this to anybody on the planet, no matter what they're doing. If someone looks me in my eye and says, I've got a decision to make, but this decision going this direction feels very comfortable, I would immediately say to them, why does that matter to you? Because nothing ever happened that was truly iconic that was comfortable. You have to challenge yourself, and then you can challenge the people around you, and then you can build a community that continues to challenge each other, and that's how things get done. That's how the world changes.
So I do want to highlight that you've been all over the place. You've studied here in the United States, you've studied abroad in the UK. And is this across the board societal habits? Is this something that it doesn't matter the region or that particular area of the planet, that we all think this way? Are there unique comparing and contrasting between, say, here in the United States and then elsewhere that you've seen?
No, this is global. I mean, this is how humanity is currently running itself. We've created a global culture that is actually very odd. What we've done is build a system of followers, people who follow each other and follow followers to find followers and create more followers, so that we're all just in this sort of circle of following. That is the fall of Rome, right? This is what happened in Rome. Rome fell because everybody that ran Rome got comfortable. And when the barbarians came to the gates, they all sat around and looked at each other going, well, I don't know what to do. Do you know what to do? I don't know what to do. I'm certainly very comfortable here in my giant mansion, having my feasts and running to the vomitorium afterwards, but I don't know what to do. Okay? Comfort doesn't work. Being comfortable doesn't work. This is not geospecific. This is not an American issue. This is where our global culture is right now. And we have to break out of that. We need iconic leaders to step up and lead and inspire. So when you say, is this, country specific, culture specific? It is culture specific, but our culture is global. We became a global culture decades ago, and that just gets reinforced every day through social media and all the various ways we have of using technology and airplanes to connect and travel and be in a different part of our globe every hour. But it doesn't change who we are as humans. Look, a basic leader is someone who gets up in the morning and gives instructions. They might give those instructions to themselves, to their family, to their workforce, to their team, to their church, to their youth group, whatever it is. But an iconic leader doesn't give any instructions at all. They inspire action. And you've got to start inspiring action in yourself. And that means you're not going to be in a comfortable spot.
Before we go to break, I do want to ask you, you mentioned that, that the woo-ness of certain words of just facing things such as a challenge versus using other words to describe. Can we call a spade if someone has gone through something that maybe they could not anticipate? Can we get honest with the reality of our journey without zhuzhing it up and making it less real so that we could take it head on?
Sure, but I still think that comes down to someone just simply looking at themselves. If you want to make it very, very iconically real, then go look in the mirror. But it still comes down to that. Look, life is full of challenges. Life is full of the unexpected. You may have a car accident. You may get a divorce. This is nonstop. Our lives are challenges. Our lives are forks in the road. But this is why Robert Frost wrote the famous poem, Take the Path Less Taken. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean take the path less taken in the sense that stop taking the path everyone else is on. I mean it in stop taking the path that looks easy. Stop taking the path that looks comfortable. Take the path that will challenge you. Learn to rise to your own challenges. And you say, call a spade a spade. Look, some challenges people face are enormous, right? Physical challenges. I mean, when I broke my neck, right? That's a challenge. But I had a choice the very next day. And I made a choice to not let it change who I was at my core, but only let it change the path I was on. And that's what people need to think about.
We got a lot to cover, including getting into your book. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
So NAD is something that we use for people who are going through withdrawal symptoms, whether it's opioids, whether it's alcohol. GABA receptors in our brain is something that alcohol affects when we drink. So when you're going through alcohol withdrawals and I give you the Calm bag or give you Calm with GABA in it, it kind of gives your brain that kind of fix, so to speak, of the alcohol to help with the withdrawal symptoms. I'm not saying it gets rid of them. I'm not saying I give you GABA and you're good to go forever. That's not what I'm saying. It's, again, just like everything we offer, it's a relief.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We're spending quality time today with our guest, Dan Jahn. He's the iconic leadership coach, and we're talking mastering leadership in life and all things applied, not only just in the sector that allows us to really have a strong professional role, but what about in our personal life, in our interpersonal lives and the people who matter most to us? And Dan, before the break, you were talking about, you started to dive a little bit more into perspective and really flipping the switch in how you look at a situation and take things head on. And I have to commend you that there's that level of confidence and just the decision. There is no double dutch in the situation. You've decided and you've moved on. And so, especially as you were talking about the injury, the moment that you had where gymnastics was no longer part of your life. And so as you're growing your voice and you're paving the path for leadership and all that implies, along the way, you wrote a book, and I want to talk about it, Leading with Impact. And I want to share with the audience, just talk to us about your book and who's it for, when did you write it, what inspired you to put pen to pad?
What inspired me to write it is just that I wanted to codify for myself what an impactful, iconic leader is. And so I spent some time developing a concept, and then I went out and I interviewed a lot of people. I've traveled to 68 countries, and I've talked to political leaders and business leaders and religious leaders and cultural leaders of all ages, men, women, and just all over the map in terms of what industries they were in. And I started to distill what I was learning about all of these people. And what I did is I figured out that there's really these 8 iconic traits. And I wanted to codify them for myself first. And then I wanted to get them into a book so that anybody can go pick this book up. You don't even need to talk to me. You can just read this book. Now, I go way, way deeper into this stuff when you work with me, but I wanted to provide something super inexpensive that anybody can pick up and go, okay, I want to be an iconic leader, whatever that means, whether that's in your business or you're working for a Fortune 500 or you're working for a small business, but you want to help the owner grow that business, or you want to have a better family life, right? Even families need leaders. Right? Your children look to you for leadership. So I wanted to kind of put this down on paper and say, like, to the world, here, guys, this is it. These are the 8 traits. If you learn how to embody these, you will be an iconic leader, because back to my original point, these people aren't born. They chose to become leaders, and you can too, right? This is just a little guide to get you started on that path. And that's why I wrote it.
And, this obviously, there is that level of that emphasis of leading in the profession and business, but I do want to emphasize that this is also that you're right, this can be good for any area of life in terms of characteristics. I do want to, of course, my favorite thing is to just poke through the book on air and share with our viewers. And I want to just dive into chapter 4 and get your take in detail about this. So chapter 4, you started to talk about the analytical leader and navigating complex challenges. There's that word again, challenges. And then here you say, applying critical thinking and problem solving. And then you write, it's a short little blurb. Critical thinking is an indispensable tool in a leader's arsenal, particularly when it comes to problem solving. It involves not just understanding information, but also questioning it, evaluating multiple viewpoints and applying reasoned conclusions to develop solutions. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then in layman's terms, how this can apply to, say, the mom who's watching, or say the person on LinkedIn who's having a little peek at our discussion?
Sure. Look, I mean, analyzing things is something that we don't really teach much anymore. I think this is probably a result of computers and calculators, and we've kind of stepped back from teaching people really critical thinking skills. And that's the fault of our education system, and I could talk about that for hours. But what really boils down to is you have to make up that gap yourself. If you weren't taught it in school, then you need to teach it to yourself. And the reason it's so important, when you're getting a lot of information, and what we have now in our current global society is information overload. Right? We hear about this all the time. People are bombarded with information from a wide variety of sources, and sometimes that information might not be accurate. Right? I mean, we literally have an entire news show devoted to disinformation. What does that mean for us on a daily basis? It means we can't do anything for a fact. It might be a fact, but you don't know that. You need to develop your critical thinking skills, your analysis of everything is how you're going to inform your decision. And sure, this is easy to relate to business, right? Because businesses are always facing challenges, competitors, changes, product, whatever, and they've got to analyze and come up with a new approach. But it's so important in life, right? If you're a parent, you have so much information hitting you about how to raise your child. I mean, who doesn't have advice, right? I mean, everything from different diaper manufacturers, 50 different preschools you should all be looking at, and going into high school, and how we're going to prep them for his SAT. You are bombarded from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed with, here you as a parent should do for your child, or you are being a bad parent. Well, number one, no, you've got to turn that off, right? You need to learn to completely disengage from the emotional context of the information you're being presented, because it's all being presented to you from a bias, right? And that bias might not be helpful, it might not be accurate, and it might not have anything to do with what you want to do as a parent. So that's number one. The first step in being critical and analyzing the information is to turn off the emotive component of all of that information. The second thing is, if you're sitting there as a parent and you're thinking to yourself, I need to make the right decisions for my child, then analyze what that means, right? And remember, what's right for you may not be right for your child, and vice versa. So this information isn't just a gathering of information from all these external sources. It's also looking inside. It's also talking with your child, and it's taking the time to think through every piece of information that's going to help you make a good decision. And when I say think through, I'm not saying spend hours and hours and days on this. I'm saying take each salient point, each relevant fact, and just think about it as a external force operating on your life. And then you get to make a decision. Are you going to allow this external force to impact you or not? And that's really what almost every decision comes down to when you're dealing with this information overload is, do you care about it? Are you going to let it change you? Does it help you? And if you can't find a very clear answer to those questions, yes, this will help. Yes, it will impact my child in a positive way, and it will grow us as a family. And I see how this serves my child in the present as well as the future.
And you bring up a strong point. First of all, I want to go back a little bit, and I want to talk about your definition of critical thinking. Like how do you how do you conceptualize this in applicable terms? You're embracing. When was the first time you embraced critical thinking, and what does it mean to you, like on a raw level?
Well, I'd say the first time I embraced really critical thinking was really as a child. My father was a difficult man in many ways, mostly through no fault of his own. The injuries that he had sustained definitely impacted him at some very, very deep levels. And those didn't always manifest in a very positive way for him. And because he was my father, they frequently didn't manifest in a very positive way for me. But as a child dealing with that, I had a choice. I could allow that to shape me in a negative way. I could allow those events and those moments to truly damage me. And if I'd done that, then I would be blaming somebody else, right? I would be blaming my father for those things. So what I had to do was put on a little critical thinking beanie and say, all right, well, where's this behavior coming from? Why is this happening to me? Well, it's happening to me because something's happening to him. What is happening to him? Is this a choice he's making? Is this his fault? Is he choosing to be this person who's not really what I need in my life right now? And I don't really want to sit here and talk about how terrible things could be, because that's not the point of this. The point of it is I had an opportunity at a very young age to think very critically about things that were happening to me and choose how I would respond to them. And so I did that. I thought about them very critically, and I made a choice to not allow them to negatively impact me. I made a choice to not place blame. I made a choice to accept and understand and move forward. So that's how critical thinking first raised its head in my little world. But I took a really important lesson from that, which I've used throughout my life, which is that at any given moment, I am going to critically think about what I am being exposed to, unless I choose not to. When do I choose not to? I choose not to when it's entertainment, right? When I'm just having fun, there's nothing to critically think about. But when I'm making a choice that's going to affect my future, my present, or other people's futures and present, that's when you've got to think about it critically.
You bring up a really good point, and you talked a little bit about parents making that just that calculated move, if you will, of approaching how they're going to support, how they're supposed to, or how they choose to support their child. And so, what do you say to the parent or the family member whose feet don't touch the ground, who they are just struggling, they're in a hamster wheel, they would love to sit down and compartmentalize, but they feel like they just don't have they don't have the time that they picture they need to have. What do you say to the parent who says, I just don't have, I don't have that skill set?
Well, the first thing I would say is, just because you don't have it doesn't mean you can't get it, right? If there's a skill set that you really, truly, honestly believe that you need, go get it, right? This is, I think, one of the most important things is you are in charge of yourself. You are your own leader. So if you think that you need a skill set, lead yourself to it, right? There's all kinds of opportunities for this. Go find a YouTube channel. Go find someone on TikTok. Work with a coach like me who can sit you down and put you through exercises and ideas and workshopping to change your perspective on that. Because I guarantee you, there's not a skill set out there that you can't bring into your own life, right? I talk a lot about toolboxes. Other coaches talk about quivers of arrows, and you've got to have all the arrows. And I don't think that's true. I don't think you have to have all the arrows. I think what you do need to do is acknowledge at certain times in your life, hey, I'm stuck and I might not be able to get myself out of this. So I'm going to go talk to someone who can. I'm going to go work with someone who has methods and mindsets and frameworks to pull me out of this rut. And that's perfectly acceptable. One of the things that bothers me so much in American culture is this pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, buddy. Okay, look, nobody ever did that. That's BS. There is very, very few people on this planet that have pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps. Everyone has help, right? Live together, die alone.
That's a very powerful point. The other thing too, you're touching on your style, and I want to dive into how you've referenced as the matrix in terms of how you embrace your coaching. And I just want to see if we can break down a little bit more about your leadership matrix. Talk a little bit about some of the characteristics that you really truly embrace that you also use to guide others.
Sure. So my degrees, U.S. and UK universities. I mean, I've been to University of Colorado and George Mason University. I studied at Oxford. And one of the things I've done throughout all this is I've got multiple degrees, but they all kind of center around, in my mind, peace and conflict. And I've studied religion and politics. I have degrees in economics and international relations. And really what I was always trying to get at inside all of those fields of study was humans tend to disagree, and then they have to find a way to agree because, again, we don't live in a vacuum. We live with each other, and we have to build communities, families, and companies, and businesses, and organizations that all need to move forward together. So I've always been very interested in peace and conflict, and those get resolved by leaders, and that kind of led me towards the idea of really studying leaders. So as I began really studying this, I kind of developed what I wanted to call a system. And so I made it. I call it the Iconic Leadership Matrix. And it has 3 phases. So this first phase I call discovery. And I've kind of loosely based this on the Japanese concept of ikigai. And ikigai is all about finding your purpose. And what I mean by that is, what are you good at? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what do you love? Where's your passion? So we ask those questions, and then we find out where those intersections are. And in that intersection of all 4 of those questions, that's your ikigai. That's your purpose. That's why you're here on this planet at this time. Okay, once we have that, then we move into what we call the mastery phase. And in the mastery phase, what I want to help you do is master these 8 traits of iconic leaders because they apply to every life. Your personal life, your romantic life, your business life, all of it. If you can truly become an iconic leader and inspire action, then you can move on to the next step. And the last step in my leadership matrix is execution. So I have another book that's coming out. It's coming out in about a month. It's called Stop Following. Learn to Lead and Inspire with the 12 Principles of Iconic Leadership. And so in this third phase, what we do is we take those 12 principles and we workshop them into a massive, wide variety of situations, right? We look at how can you apply these principles when you're hiring someone, when you're firing someone, when you're setting a challenge for your team, when you're launching a new product, when you're creating a new marketing product, anything and everything. There is a principle of leadership that can be applied by you to help you through that situation. So putting all those together, discovery, mastery, execution, that's my iconic leadership matrix. And that's what I take people through. And I do it in group coaching and private coaching, and I do corporate workshops, but they're all kind of based around this idea that we're going to figure out your purpose, your ikigai. Then we're going to teach you how to become an iconic leader. And then we're going to teach you how to be the iconic leader you just became in every situation that's going to come up in your life, business or personal.
And I can see how it's all interconnected in that it's not just like, say, the person leading, like, say, a team, but certainly I could see how this could be for the person who has a side hustle, or someone who is a small business owner, or someone who, and as you mentioned, just a variety of different situations, but it clearly seems applicable to having that clear foundation, that clear plan to then be, as you say in your words, being an iconic leader. And there's a lot more that we're covering, of course. And first, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you. Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about bladder health, an important topic for both men and women, especially as we age. A healthy bladder is key to your overall well-being, and small daily habits can make a big difference. First, stay hydrated. Drinking plenty of water helps flush out toxins and supports normal bladder function. Aim for at least 6 to 8 glasses a day, but avoid excessive caffeine and alcohol as they can irritate your bladder. Pay attention to your bathroom habits. Don't hold your urine for too long, as it can increase the risk of bladder infections. Also, fully empty your bladder when you go to the restroom to prevent discomfort or infections. Incorporate bladder-friendly foods into your food intake, like berries, pears, and leafy greens, while avoiding overly spicy or acidic foods if they cause irritation. And don't forget about pelvic floor exercises. Strengthening these muscles helps prevent bladder leakage and improves control. Take care of your bladder, and it will take care of you. Stay proactive, stay hydrated, and stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Our guest today, Dan Jahn, he is the iconic leadership coach. He's a speaker, author. We are learning what it takes to master leadership in life in all different facets of our lives, and how we can continue to use the right tools to grow and keep going and just make the most of our days ahead. Dan, I'm curious, how do you define success? What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is actually, I think, one of the more simple ones. If you get up in the morning and you are excited and you are happy to engage with your day, no matter what is coming your way that day. Maybe you have a promotion that you know you're going to get. Maybe you know you're going to have to lay someone off. It doesn't really matter what the emotional context of that day is. If you get up and you look in the mirror and you think, all right, I am ready to meet the challenges of this day because I am confident in myself. I am comfortable in who I am becoming, not in who I am. And that's why I really want to clarify that. I am comfortable in who I am becoming. And I know that I will leave a legacy on this world. Then you have succeeded, right? Money is not a definition of success. Money is part of the outcome of success, but it's not success in and of itself. That's it. That's it for me. My definition is so simple. I look in the mirror, and if I don't feel instantly, yes, I am ready to take on this day and tomorrow and all the days after this, because I know who I am, I'm successful.
And what about a bad day? What if somebody wakes up and they're on the wrong side of the bed, and all that implies?
You
What
know,
is that an indicator of?
that's an indicator that I think you've lost a little focus, right? Look, everybody has bad days, bad things happen, hard things happen, challenging things happen, but this is where it really comes down to, are you going to step up or are you going to fall back? Because if you wake up and you're on the wrong side of the bed, okay, accept it and then change it. Right. And this gets into that sort of woo-woo stuff again, right? I do believe a little bit in manifestation. If you get up and you're having a bad day and you dwell in it, you wallow in it, okay, it's not going to get any better, right? You're making a choice to have a bad day at that point. So that's easy for me to say, right? It's easy for anybody on the outside to say you're choosing to have a bad day. It's not that easy to make that choice yourself, but I'm telling you that you can make that choice yourself. I'm the one sitting here telling you, I know you can. And look, I got to ask you this question. You, the viewer, everybody out there, if I believe in you, why don't you believe in yourself? I don't even know you yet, but I believe in you.
And I love how your words just hold so much weight and so much value. And with your words, not only are you a speaker, but, and an author, but so you are continuing to grow your exponential reach. And in one of the ways that you do so is in your line of work. So I want to just touch a little bit on your coaching and just the different ways in which you do spend time working with others. And I'd like for us to then go into a little bit of a breakdown of how you work with others. I know we have a slide coming up here. Talk a little bit about how you do it, who you work with, you're just onboarding process. What does that look like?
Sure. So I do private coaching and group coaching. And the private coaching, it's a 90-day program. I call it the Quantum Growth Leadership Program, and it's pretty intense. It's 90 days where I commit to you as much as I ask you to commit to the program, with the goal of finishing up those 90 days and pushing you back out into the world as an iconic leader. I also do group coaching, and group coaching has its own value stack associated with being able to talk to other people. I don't really think private coaching or group coaching, I don't look at one or the other as being better. They are different approaches to achieving the same goal. And the difference between them is what's right for you. Some people really want to do one-on-one. Let's get into it, man. Let's just get in there and get this done. Other people want that group effort. They want to be able to bounce their ideas off of other people who are going through the same program. I think they're both equally valuable. I love teaching them both. I love lives, and I work with a really wide variety of people. I talked to this guy just a couple days ago who wants to build the world's largest inner city youth basketball league, complete nonprofit, right? This thing's never going to make any money, but he needs to build an incredible high performing team that is worldwide. So this is a huge, huge undertaking, but it's a passion, it's a purpose, and he's going to do it. I also, I'll give you an example, Pearl. So Pearl is a single, disabled mom and a veteran. And she was, let's just put it out there. She was at the bottom. There's really no other word for it. She was struggling. She was depressed. She really felt like she just had no hope. So I took a little bit of a different approach there. We started off with like a daily accountability check every morning. What are you doing? And why are you doing it? Then we got into her ikigai. Then we got into mastering. Then we got into execution. Where is she now? She has her own marketing company. She has her niche. Her purpose is providing marketing to other veteran-owned businesses. So we found the purpose. We matched it with her passion. And does she have a huge team? Is she building a worldwide inner city youth basketball league? No. She has a very small team who are incredibly high performing and recognize the passion and purpose that their leader has. And she is going gangbusters.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So obviously this can be for anyone who can see that this can create the breakthrough success that they're looking for. And so of different scenarios, either, the one-on-one or the group coaching. I know that you and I were talking before today, and there's another avenue to, there's another offering that you do have that you've recently created, and it's brand new. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So what happened is a lot of people have begun reaching out to me after seeing one of my speaking engagements or seeing me on a spot like this and asking me, look, Dan, I don't think I'm really ready to become a leader. Like, I know that that's in my future. I know that maybe one day I want to be at the C-suite, but right now I'm just kind of lost. I just don't even really know what my next step is. Knowing I have some other things to do in the future, what do I do right now, Dan? I'm stuck. I'm lost. I'm frustrated. Okay, I hear you. I can fix that. I guarantee you I can. But I need a day with you. I need one full day. We turn our phones off, and I call this the one-day transformation, right? It's one day, but it's infinite return on an investment, because at the end of that day, you will know your purpose, you will have a passion, you will have an executionable game plan to make that come true in your life. So that's a new thing that I'm offering, and I've done it a couple times with a few people, and oh God, it's a hard day, it's an intense day, and it is so rewarding because at the end of that day, the day starts off hard. We're dealing with some hard things. You're stuck, you're frustrated, but at the end of that day, it's these massive smiles. And I just see that the energy of these people who are now ready to go out and get things done in their life, in their family's life, it can be something as simple as just simply changing the way you go about your life. But in this one day, the biggest takeaway is we change your mindset, right? You come to me stuck, you leave on a roller coaster.
And of course, we have the QR code for viewers to grab as they for their ability to just grab that and then connect with you. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. We are coming right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking today about mastering leadership in our lives. We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Dan Jahn. He is the iconic leadership coach, speaker, author of the book, Leading with Impact. This is not the only book that he has written, but that is something we definitely wanted to highlight today. Dan, where can viewers find you in the virtual space?
Well, obviously you can drop by my website. It's just my name, Dan Jahn, DANJAHN.com. You can find me out there on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. On those channels, I'm the Dan Jahn, THEDANJAHN. You can find me on Facebook as Coach Dan Jahn. I'm out there. There's a few other Dan Jahns in the world, but if you look at my name, Dan Jahn, you'll probably find me.
And also, what do you have going on for the remainder of, we've got just a little bit left in 2024, then going into 2025. What do you have going on? And will we find you lending your voice to different areas?
Yeah, a couple different things. So I've got some really fun speaking coming up, and there'll be a list of those going up on my website. I'm also developing a course. I call it The Mindful Executive, Harnessing Ancient Wisdom for Modern Business Mastery. It's a really fun course. We dig into everyone from Genghis Khan to Steve Jobs, and we talk about ideas and resilience and adaptability and communication and leading with integrity. And we draw from 5,000 years of human history across 12 different cultures. It's a really, really fun and interesting course, and that's going to be launching in December. And then in 2025, one of the new things I'm instituting is some retreats, and we're going to do 3 retreats in 2025. One is in Tulum, down in Mexico, one is in Costa Rica, and then the one towards the end of the year is in Bhutan. And all 3 of them are going to be just incredible. It's just 3 days of workshops and mingling with other people who have a similar mindset, doing some great challenges together, and just trying to build this next generation of leaders. And part of that for me is I want these leaders to all know each other, because the greatest leaders in the world still need help. Comes back to that same thing, right? Live together, die alone. I don't care how iconic a leader you become. Sometimes you want to pick up the phone, call another iconic leader. Hey, man, how'd you deal with this? Oh, thanks. That's what I want to build. People use that word tribe a lot. I think it's overused. So I'm not going to use it here, but I'm going to just kind of reference it there. But that's what I need. I need a tribe of iconic leaders across the world who all work together, talk together, and leave a legacy of impact.
Dan Jahn, the iconic leadership coach and author of the book Leading with Impact, I do have here in my hands. Of course, viewers can get in touch with you in your website and all the social media handles. It's definitely riveting to hear how you embrace leadership and how you teach others. Definitely some huge nuggets for all of us to learn from. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. I love talking about this stuff because the world needs it.
Absolutely. And for our viewers, of course, you can find us on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can also email us with any show episode ideas that you might have that you'd love for us to cover. In the upper corner of your screen, you're going to find our QR code. Feel free to grab that as the crow flies. And then, of course, we'd like to remind you every Tuesday and Thursday, you can find us on the Achieve TV channel on E360 TV, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, each and every single week. That is all the time that we have for today. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.